Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Saturday. It's Daryl here. It is bright and freaking early, man. It's 3 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. Okay, I think I'm a little ticked off. It's not often that I think this is the first time ever that I've fallen for right-wing rhetoric, and I got to back up off what I said yesterday. Apparently, I've never had to say this before, but I think I'm guilty of maybe spreading some misinformation in yesterday's video. Another thing that I don't feel comfortable with this morning is my opinion pretty much exactly mirrors Jake Paul's opinion, and that does not make me feel good at all. I am no fan of Jake Paul, especially since he came out in support of Donald Trump in 2024. The fact that my opinion pretty much, I have to be honest. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say. I mean, it's from the heart. Whenever I do these videos, I don't make stuff up. I tell you guys things that I never tell anybody else. This is my confessional. And everything you're hearing is 100% from me. Okay, where do I start here? Let me say this first of all. When I do a video in the morning, I make a point of not going back, and for 24 hours, I don't look at yesterday's views, I don't read the comments. For the first hour after I download a video at 3 a.m., I might read the comments as they come in for the first hour. And then I stop watching. I don't want to count every view or every comment. After the first hour, I leave the video alone, and I don't look at it again for at least 24 hours. I don't go back and check the comments till later, till after, like maybe this afternoon, maybe 36 to 48 hours. I let the comments and everything add up so I could get an overview. So I don't want to change today's opinion on the video that I'm doing today. I want to do this video right from the heart. Now, I got yesterday's information from TMZ. This is about IMANE KHELIF, and I hope I'm pronouncing her name right, the Algerian boxer. In yesterday's video, now this is the problem with people like Donald Trump, people like the right wing spreading. They are so much in support of Russia, and the only reason they're in support of Russia is because the way that Russia mistreats and dehumanizes the LGBTQ community. That's why they support Russia. Basically, I think that sums it up. This dictator worshiping attitude, this fascist attitude. I remember, I've been a Democrat pretty much, or an independent my whole life. But the first time I voted, I did vote for Ronald Reagan. And that was wrong. I was 18 years old, and I was like the Trump voters of today. I was misinformed. I wasn't very knowledgeable, and I thought he was a cool guy. Everybody else was voting for him. A tough guy, cowboy. I'll vote for him. And I was like, that's who I used to be. And he used to despise Russia. The whole Republican attitude back then was Russia was the enemy. And now it's totally flipped. Trump and his supporters are like Russia lovers, Russia fans of Russia these days. And it's all because of the way Russia mistreats the LGBTQ community. It dehumanizes them. Okay, so yesterday's video I got from TMZ. And it pretty much put forward the whole chromosome thing, the test that this Algerian fighter got. It sounded, I'll put the links down below, and I fell for this in yesterday's video. I assumed, we should never assume because you make an ass out of you and me, and I did. Now apparently I read more into this, and this whole thing about her, she was born a woman, apparently. That's today in the AP. I trust the Associated Press, and in their reports today that she was born a woman. And there's a whole backstory about her. Her family didn't approve of women in sports, so she had a hard time. She was a soccer player. Then she started boxing. She was born a woman. Her family, she didn't want her to play sports because she was a woman. And then she got beat by women, I think 5 or 6 times in her boxing career. And I didn't read that till this morning. And yesterday I was just assuming that she was a trans person. Now I'm going to get to that more in a second. So today, the story is that the IMF, I believe it's a boxing body, governing body that's governed by a questionable group in Russia that mixes business and apparently there's some kind of sports drink, and this is their goals are kind of mixed, and apparently this body is the one, the IMF, I think it is in Russia, is the one that banned her or started putting out this. They were murky about these details about and these supposed tests that she failed, and this was only after she lost to a Russian boxer who was tight with the IMF. You see, so you're starting to see the backstory here. These stories now all of a sudden today, I'm realizing that I'm probably wrong here. I'm 100% wrong. This poor woman who I thought was a who I thought was somebody she wasn't yesterday, and I was saying she should be pulled out of, that I don't think she. In yesterday's video, I said I just don't feel comfortable. I didn't say she should stop boxing or anything, but I just feel like if it's a person that transitioned from being born a man to a woman, and she's boxing. I just, I'm all for, I don't mind women, and, I don't mind trans people, like, in any sports, but this particular sport, like I said yesterday, the physicality of it. Apparently, now here's the thing, Jake Paul is saying the same exact thing. He feels the same exact way I feel this morning. I'll put the link down below. He went on Twitter, and he said that he's guilty of spreading misinformation along with all these other people on X. He actually says this. He actually calls Twitter and X out. And he says, he read the same stuff I read about the whole XXXY chromosome thing. And now apparently that's a bunch of bull. That's just a rumor. And it came from this Russia governing body. And I'm like, oh my God, I fell for this Russian propaganda in yesterday's video, and that ticks me off. Now, Jake Paul goes on to say that he still stands firmly on his opinion about no trans people playing against women. It's like no women that trans woman playing in sports against women. I don't agree with that. I don't. As long as there's no physicality, as boxing. Like I said, watching somebody that was born in a male body with a male skeletal. I said this in yesterday's videos. Male skeletal system, a male muscles, male testosterone. Boxing against a woman that was born a woman. I just, I'm a liberal. I'm a full, tried and true, glued to the core liberal, Democrat, Obama-loving, electric car-loving, tree-hugging liberal. But, in that one particular case with boxing, in yesterday's video, I said I didn't feel comfortable, and I was assuming that IMANE KHELIF was a trans person, and apparently she is not. Not that there's anything wrong with being a trans person either. It was just my simple opinion in yesterday's video that I just, I'm not saying she shouldn't box, if, any trans people shouldn't box. I just said, personally, watching it, knowing that if it's a person that was born with a male skeletal, a male body, boxing against a person that was born as a female, personally, I would have a hard time watching it. It's just, and I consider myself a liberal. Okay, I think I've gone on enough about that. Aerosmith's retiring. Steven Tyler has done irreparable damage to his larynx, and they're calling it quits. Steven Tyler is 76 years old. Let me ask you guys this: if there's one person, living or dead, throughout all of time, one person, even God, mythical. I'm not calling God mythical, but any person throughout history, Zeus, anybody that you could sit down with on a park bench, say, and talk with for an hour, who would it be? Would it be Einstein? Would it be George Washington? Who would it be? For me, I've always said this too. I've had this opinion for years. For me, it would be Steven Tyler. Steven Tyler, I've always identified with Steven Tyler. He's from this area of the country. He was initially from New Hampshire. My family's from the top of Maine, and he went down to Boston. And my family came from the top of Maine, moved down to Connecticut. His whole battle with drugs, I could identify with. I feel a kinship with him. And not only that, but I look at him as I don't want to call a hero, but he is somebody I identify with, and I admire. And not only that, but his loose attitude. he's not strictly like you see these country singers that are all macho and beer swilling, truck driving, and Tyler's not like that. He's comfortable in his body, and most people have a male side and have a feminine side. I've talked about this in videos, I've done things, I've gone this way and I've gone that way before, and I admire Steven Tyler. To me, that's confidence. It's just being naturally who you are, and I think a lot of times people, this false bravado, this false machismo leads to just nothing but a lot of trouble and a lot of war, in my opinion. Anyway, I want to share this one story with you. Like I said, Steven Tyler and supposedly the band Aerosmith is retiring because the damage, in this article, I'll put the link down below, they said that Steven Tyler's voice is an instrument like no other. And I've seen Aerosmith 11 times. 11 times I've seen Aerosmith. The first time was back with, let me tell you this, was the Done with Mirrors tour. Like I told you guys, I saw Blue Oyster Cult, Foghat, and the Whitford St. Holmes Band at my third concert when I was 15 years old. Whitford St. Holmes Band was where the band broke up. Aerosmith broke up, and Brad Whitford went to that band. Joe Perry did the Joe Perry Project. Steven Tyler disappeared in drugs and alcohol. Or no, he actually continued doing touring, and that's when I saw him. And I'm going to share this story with you because it was one of the saddest things I ever saw. We were in New Haven, Connecticut, New Haven Coliseum, the Done with Mirrors tour. I can't remember exactly what year. I think it was around 1985. Okay, and Tyler just was not himself. This was like the second or third time I saw him, and he was kind of hanging on the mic, and his voice didn't sound the same. And this is what he said in this concert. I was there, and I actually heard him say this. He said, "Hello, Hartford," except we were in New Haven, Connecticut, not Hartford. And I remember the crowd you just hear cheering go down to like nothing, like almost like a cricket. You could hear a pin drop. And it was my heart just broke. It was one of the saddest things. And I don't think he even realized, that he didn't know what city he was in. I saw him again later in 1990, 1992, 1995, 1994, 1996. And he was just a completely different animal, man. He was just unfreaking believable. The way this guy, in the 1990s, he was probably, my age now, probably in his 50s or 60s. Or no, I'm sorry, the late 40s, early 50s. And he was doing, you see him doing freaking backflips on stage. Swear to God, backflips. And this guy's running from one side of the stage to the other, and the voice, and it was just like two different people. When he got clean, it was two different people, and that made me just admire this guy. When I saw him clean and sober, I was like, wow. It's one of those times I'm getting goosebumps, I swear to God. And he is one of my, I don't know what you'd call it, a mentor, a hero. Really, somebody I like to fashion myself after in recovery. Recovery is possible. I've been clean and sober since October 23rd of 2006, coming up on 18 years clean and sober from the hardest of hard drugs every day for 2.5 decades. Recovery is possible. The links will be down below. You guys have a great Saturday.